a lot of people, when they retire, they want to do for the grandkids, they want to do for the kids, and they forget our number one focus is making sure they have enough money. And so we have to be frugal. If there's anything left over at the end, then I'm more than willing to pass it on because I don't need it.
What are the two most important questions you need to ask yourself and have an answer to before you can retire with confidence? We'll talk about it today with John Kuykendall, founder of GulfCoast Financial Services. GulfCoast Financial, of course, has been named best of the best in financial services by readers of the Lake City Reporter the last 10 straight years concurrently. And they're keeping that streak going by helping people address these two vital questions so often overlooked. We'll talk about it today on Financial Focus. John, always appreciate your time and attention to important financial matters. Now, we are rapidly heading into the holiday season, and you recently had a client appreciation event, and the big guy, the big man showed up. Always a enjoyable annual tradition there at GulfCoast Financial Services.
Yeah, we bring in Santa Claus every year for our client appreciation event, and try to support some charity in the community. In the past, we've done the Humane Society and a lot of other small charities. So it's always a good way to give back, and a great way to get our clients to come in and make sure that Santa got their Christmas wishes.
Yeah. Now you talk to our clients sitting on Santa's lap, or are they just kneeling beside him?
Actually, our clients get on his lap, man. They
Yeah.
hop right down and take that picture. We give everybody a 8x10 picture with Santa Claus, and the ladies have no problem doing that.
Now that is awesome. I've got to admit, I'm tickled a little bit by just the thought of that. But you were talking to me before the program about the charity, the cause that you were helping, you and the clients, of course, were helping to support this year. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, there's a group in the town, our community, where girls who have been really not wanted by their family or really can't stay at home, they house these girls up until the age of 18. And so they come in with nothing. They have a black bag with whatever they could put into it. And then that's all they have. Everything else they left at home. And so what we're trying to do is give them some personal hygiene stuff, some clothes, some toys, just little stuff that we can give back to them to help support them. This is a group that really needs our help, and we're all too glad to do it.
A fantastic cause and an opportunity to take part in that effort, yeah, ladies and gentlemen. So again, if you are seeing this, I am assuming no matter the time of the year, teens need regardless year round, but this is a time of year where certainly that would be heartfelt and warmly received. So if you would like to take part, get in touch with John Kuykendall and the team from GulfCoast Financial Services. They can point you and align you with the right sources and contacts there. Make sure. But John, today's program, like every other financial focus program, aiming to keep those listeners and viewers focused on what is important with their money, with their finances, with their retirement planning. And today we've got the two questions that must be addressed for a more secure and confident retirement future. Let's dive in, John. What are these two questions and why are they so important? And maybe why are they so frequently overlooked, as you were mentioning before the program?
Well, Peter, when we start our financial planning, a lot of times we don't look at how long we're going to live. And so longevity is the number one risk. It's the biggest risk we have. As Tom Hagnia says, it's the risk multiplier. It takes all the other risk, the healthcare risk, the financial risk, and it multiplies it because the longer we live, the more money we're going to need, and the more things are going to happen to us. And so longevity is the biggest risk that we're going to have. And people don't really address that. They're looking more at how much am I going to need when I retire, but they forget that, at 90, is my money still going to be there? And the number one fear for every retiree is, am I going to run out of money? And longevity will make us do that if we're not careful.
Yeah. John, I mean, longevity, a huge risk to our financial well-being. And
Mhm.
yet the double-edged sword here is something that we're hoping for, right? Nobody hopes that we only live in retirement for 3 or 4 years, although we could spend like drunken sailors if we knew that was going to be the case, right? On the other hand, I think that it's quite dangerous to somebody's financial well-being to assume that we are going to have a short lifespan and spend that way.
Well, that's a lot of people when they retire, they want to do for the grandkids, they want to do for the kids, and they forget, and I keep trying to explain to them that our number one focus is making sure they have enough money. And so we have to be frugal. If there's anything left over at the end, then I'm more than willing to pass it on because I don't need it. But up until then, I want to make sure that I'm covered. And Peter, we talked on a pro show not too long ago about healthcare cost. I talked to a client of mine this morning, and he's got Parkinson's, and we're spending almost $25,000 a month on healthcare.
Mm.
Just somebody to come in and take care of him because his wife can't do it alone, and to make sure that he's comfortable and taken care of. So, you got to be worried about those things that are going to happen in the future.
So, John, the risk of outliving assets cannot be understated or
Mm.
addressed seriously enough for those later years of retirement. Because if assets do get depleted, Social Security seldom alone is enough to maintain comfort, quality of life, and standard of living.
Well, sure, Social Security was meant to be a supplement. It wasn't meant to be our only source of financial income. And so Social Security is not going to get it. It's not going to be enough for you to maintain the standard of living that you have and still be able to be comfortable in retirement. We can't afford that. And on the other hand, don't forget that Medicaid, because we don't have any assets left, Medicaid's not going to let you pick which facility you get to go to. One, it has to be a Medicaid approved facility. And number two, they have to have a bed. And number three, Social Medicaid has to approve it. So you don't get your choice.
Yeah, John, there's a double-edged sword there as well, but not one that I guess is as beneficial as the last one that I mentioned in that I hear people talking about how they want to preserve and protect their assets and take steps to make sure assets are protected. But if we put our assets behind a firewall, if we get them out of our estate to become eligible for Medicaid, then generally that means we no longer have access to those. And then we're subject to the discretion of the government to establish the level of care. Like it's not a win-win in either scenario, it feels like to me. You're giving up either the assets being subject to spend down, the way the government looks at it. If you've got assets, you're responsible to pay for establishing the level of care. But otherwise, the government says you basically have to spend yourself to absolute below poverty levels before they step in, and then you can't establish the level of care or determine the level of care.
No, that's right. I mean, it is a two-edged sword. One, if you're trying to protect your assets, you can lose control of them, as you said. You can do things that will protect them, but you won't be able to use them or can't use them, or there are penalties if we use them right away. So we have to be careful about that. Having Medicaid or having the government decide what kind of care you're going to have is certainly not what you want or I want to have to go through. Because I know this, we had a client who was on Medicaid. Now he had an Army pension, he had a state pension, he had Social Security. Medicaid took all three of those. They took his RMD out of his IRA,
Hmm.
and they gave his wife $1,000 a month to live on. So, and actually, when it was all said and done, Medicaid only came up with about $1,500 to help pay for his health care. So, because the other thing almost covered him. So we have to be careful, Peter, on what we're doing and how we plan. And that's one reason that we're so anxious for our clients to work on that hybrid financial long-term care plan, so that we know that we can get some extra income coming in to help take care of my retirement and my long-term care needs without crashing my financial plan.
Yeah. You must plan carefully in the early years, even before retirement, in order to protect yourself and in order to enjoy that retirement lifestyle, removing the risk that longevity can present. So again, these two must address questions. Number one, what is the single financial risk that could make the biggest impact on your retirement? That is longevity. It's something we hope for, but it is the biggest financial risk to our standard of living and our well-being. So, John, number two, how can we eliminate the possibility of this risk, longevity, ruining our retirement? How do we go about addressing longevity and turn it back to the blessing and something that we hope for?
Well, somehow we have to work up our budget and our income plan. And what the shortfall in the income plan, we make up that with predictable, sustainable income coming in every month. You know, the last generation was the great generation. They had they had pensions. And so a lot of the clients that are now passing away because we've had them so long, but they had pensions. Those people have actually made money during retirement because their Social Security and their pensions took care of their needs and their assets grew that we had. So they continued to prosper. And we don't have that anymore. Because of the 401ks and the way we self-manage ourselves, we have to be careful, as we talked earlier, about not giving away all the money up front, thinking that I've got all this extra wealth. I need to go ahead and give it away or gift it or get it out of my estate. That's not the problem. The problem, as we talked about, number one, I'm going to run out of money. And two, I'm going to live longer than my money is here. So we need to come up with predictable, sustainable income to make up for that shortfall and then have a growth bucket that takes care of inflation and all the extra things that we need in retirement, such as a new roof, a new car, all the other things that would take away from our budget.
That financially focused written retirement income plan, John, you're taking these things into account in the early years or even pre-retirement years to make sure those later retirement years are still confident and comfortable.
Well, sure, Peter, we take care of that. We look at that on every plan we do. We look at what the income shortfall is going to be. We predict how much money we're going to have saved up, how much money we're going to have in Social Security, and then we work our way towards how are we going to relieve that shortfall in income through an annuity or through life insurance or a combination. And then we take care of that long-term care need, and we're in great shape. It's what we need to do in order to prepare for retirement. I tell you, Peter, it's a lot different than what we used to do. Back in the old days, we never worried about income. All we wanted to do was see how big the assets were going to grow. And then we would say, okay, you got enough money, you got $2 million, you can retire. But I can have $2 million, but if I spend 100,000 a month or a year, it's not going to take long before that money's not going to be there.
Yeah, and still not be financially prepared for a lasting longevity in retirement. And that's what the financially focused written retirement income plan is aimed to help you accomplish. Now, John, in Florida here, we are certainly accustomed to hurricanes spinning out in the Atlantic.
Mhm.
And the way I envision this, you're never going to hit the exact spot, the exact street, be able to predict exactly the course of where that hurricane is going to hit. But we certainly can narrow the range, right? Instead of saying it could go anywhere from Cuba to New York, we do get a pretty good picture of here is or are the cities that really need to worry and watch out for this. Kind of like what that financially focused written retirement income plan does, right? Is that 10, 15, 30 years into the future, there's no way to know exactly down to the dollar, down to the penny, how much money we're going to have left or how much we're spending. But you certainly can narrow the range and then continue to update the chart and the path and the projections as you go along.
Well, that's right, Peter. Look at it as a roadmap because we start at one city and we're driving along. Well, all of a sudden we realize that the road's under construction, so we have to take a detour. And we do, but we get back on the path to where we were headed. So how can I go from A to B if I don't know how I'm going to get there? And so that financially focused written retirement income plan, we call it a living, breathing document that should be updated anytime there's a major change, or at least every year, because we want to make sure that our clients understand where they are and how they're going to get to where they're going. I can't predict what inflation is going to do. I can't predict what elections are going to do. But if I've eliminated some of the risk in that plan, I know that I'm going to be better off than if I didn't do anything.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, narrowing the potential range of outcomes can give you a whole lot more confidence in your path moving forward. And then updating that plan on a regular basis with an experienced, qualified professional is going to help keep you on course. So pick up the phone, give GulfCoast Financial Services a call. They are here to help and assist, a team, a family of experienced, qualified professionals willing to sit down with you, talk about your situation, your goals, your vision of the future, and map out the plan for how to get there. And of course, answering these two must address questions and formulating the plan to minimize the risk of longevity, as well as all of the others that we will face. Longevity is just that critical risk multiplier that must be addressed, but is so often overlooked. So get your financially focused written retirement income plan. Give John Kuykendall and the team from GulfCoast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, or online, where there is a library of fantastic resources and material for you to become better educated and informed about your money. That is at GulfCoastFinancial.net, GulfCoastFinancial.net. And John, we always appreciate your time and perspective and reminding us of what is important about our money here on Financial Focus.
Thank you, Peter. Great to be here. Hope you have a good holiday.
Always a pleasure. You as well. You and all of the team and the family there at GulfCoast Financial Services. Always a pleasure to see you. Have a Merry Christmas, great holiday, Happy New Year. We'll talk to you real soon.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities, Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through GulfCoast Financial Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. GulfCoast Financial Services, Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities, Inc. or Kovac Advisors, Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions. GulfCoast Financial Services, Inc. has been named as Best of the Best since 2015 in the category of Best Financial Advisor in the Lake City, Florida area. The award was based on receiving the most votes in this category from a survey offered and tabulated by the Lake City Reporter. No direct or indirect compensation was provided to the Lake City Reporter and/or any raters, and the award is not contingent on future direct or indirect compensation offered to the newspaper and/or raters. Portfolio performance is not a criterion, and voting is open to any readers of the newspaper.